Agents of Fandom.
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 What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. You are listening to the Agents of Fandom podcast. I am your host, TJ Zwarich, and I am excited to talk some Ms. Marvel today. We got a two-part episode. We're talking Ms. Marvel, then we're going to be talking some Obi-Wan Kenobi. But first, I am, of course, joined by my trusty co-host, Garrett Blaney. How's it going, Garrett?
Hello, everyone. It is going good. It's a good day to have a day. I feel like some things have been trending downward in my life, and today was like a little pick-me-up again. So it's nice to have that every once in a while, and it's good to be talking about something that's a little bit more lighthearted.
The graph of life is always going to be going up and down, and I'm happy today was a check on the upswing. I'm very happy to hear it. We also have a very special guest joining us today. Ayla, how are you doing? It is such a pleasure to finally meet you.
I'm so excited to meet you guys. I'm doing amazing. I am having a good day despite all the rain outside my window. It's pretty loud here. I don't think you guys can hear it.
We actually had some thunderstorms here today.
It's heavy out there.
Yesterday for me, we had a good portion of our city has been like flooding, and I got so worried the other day streaming. I thought one of my dogs was peeing like in my room because the sound of water was just so loud, and then I was like, it ended up streaming rain, and it was all good, but it's happening in full force lately.
Yeah, a monsoon season or something.
Apparently. I don't know if we get those in Canada, but it's feeling like it. And so we are here to talk some Ms. Marvel today. We are going to get into some Obi-Wan Kenobi later. That was a epic finale, but if you haven't seen that yet, don't worry. You don't have to press pause. We're not talking that one till later on. So first things first, we're going to talk some Ms. Marvel. What do you I'll throw it to you first. What do you think of the series as a whole so far?
I love it. It's really fun. It's really different than anything, Marvel's done stylistically. I love, I love that I can watch it with my daughter so far. With Moon Knight, I couldn't, and it's just been really exciting seeing like the wonder on her face as she sees, Miss Marvel on screen and all of that. So I'm really enjoying it so far.
Coming into the show, as I said it many times, is I wanted something that I could watch like with my niece and with my girlfriend's nieces and everything, and we've hit the roadblock of all that we can watch in the MCU that is appropriate at the time, and so I'm happy to have a project like this that is so fun for younger people to watch.
And we just had a amazing interview with Anjali Bomani of Ms. Marvel. She plays Auntie Ruby. And she told us that despite this show being more lighthearted, it's going to start taking a bit of a darker turn, and we saw that in episode 3. What did both of you think of episode 3 in comparison to the other two? This was a fun one for me because we had got the screeners in advance, and I had seen the first two. Now this was the first one that I hadn't seen yet, and so I've been waiting, and for me it didn't disappoint. Garrett, what did you think of episode 3?
I thought it was a delight. I mean, fresh off of my praise of RRR that I watched on Netflix, I am just loving the Bollywood dance numbers that I'm seeing. This is something that I've not really been a part of or got to see too much in the past. So I'm loving like this introduction into the culture. It's so fun. I want to be at that wedding. Like, I don't want to talk about the negative stuff first because there was a lot of really fun stuff in the episode. And that is the word that Anjali used to describe the episode, was a celebration, right? It turned out to be a lot more than that, but the celebration was fun and I wanted to be there.
The celebration was fun, and the lead up to the celebration was so heartfelt and so emotional. And there's multiple times I was holding back tears, even just like, I'm going to throw it to you right away, but I just need to take one time every episode to just gush at how much I love Bomani. Like, and part of me, I don't remember the actor's name who plays Nakia, but those two in a scene together, Kamala and Nakia, like, it's just 10 out of 10. Like the chemistry, it doesn't seem like two actors reading a script and acting. It seems like two best friends who have known each other their entire life, who happen to have a camera on them, and the two of them are just so fantastic. And clearly after episode 3 they're gonna have some challenges ahead in that friendship as well. Ayla, what did you think of episode 3?
So before I get into what I think of episode 3, I just want to agree with all of your praise for, the actors and actresses, because they are incredible, and it just feels like you're watching people. They have incredible chemistry, and they're just so charming and just lovely. And it's so very like heartfelt to see, and I love it. There's been a lot of talk about the casting, particularly of Nakia, but I think she knocks it out of the park. As far as episode 3 in general, I made notes before this, and I have likes, and they're basically a page long. But I think that it was it was a really balanced episode and kind of nourishing almost. The wedding was great, the celebration was phenomenal, and then it was kind of a balance to all this kind of darker stuff that was happening.
And it's something
and
that
I think I just
we've talked about a bit as well in past episodes, that to me this show, it seems more episodic than any of the ones in the past so far. The other ones, especially something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, seems like it could have been a movie. Or Moon Knight, aspects of it seems like it could have been put in a movie. This show really, each episode really seems to have a beginning, middle, and end, and it gives off it gives a start point and an end point, and the end point is we sure can. And the end point is basically just like a pickup right into the next episode, and it's perfect. And so I thought it had a great episodic feel through each one so far. And I honestly think through 3, like it I say this every time, maybe it's recency bias, but it might end up being my favorite. It's Moon Knight, Loki, and Ms. Marvel. They are definitely the top 3 for me. I think WandaVision has fallen outside of it, and as crazy as that feels, but I think Loki, Moon Knight, and Ms. Marvel might be shaping up to be my top 3. The next thing I really want to touch on, though, is kind of the elephant in the room, the clandestine. This is a group that is very barely in comic books. They're a very ancient, superpowered family, and they've interacted with X-Men, Fantastic Four, various people in the past. But this is if Guardians of the Galaxy were a D-list and El Muerto is an F-list character, these are E-list characters. Like, these are not well-known group at all. And
I'm glad you did your research.
Right?
Yeah, I did some looking into it today, and the bangle, when they found that bangle back in 1942, Garrett, that arm was blue, was it not?
That arm was definitely blue. That was a blue arm if I've ever seen one.
It was blue. It was blue, and the room they were in was, a 10 rings room. Can we talk about that and how mind-blowing that is and the possibilities for that?
We could have a whole episode on that scene.
I think so.
For real, because it's the two things. Those are the big two: the 10 rings and the impact that the fact that it was there. They were there where the Bengal was, and they brought up something where they said the man in the temple told us it was here, and I was just thinking, was that Wen Wu? Is that who was sending them there? And the potential MCU connections are crazy. But then, of course, and Garrett, I want to throw this one to you, because we've, of course, had the Inhuman versus non-Inhuman future in the MCU debate a few times, and we can finally talk about Doctor Strange now. It's on Disney+. I know our guy Brandon Moore has finally seen it, and he loved it. So we can finally talk spoilers of that one now that it's on Disney+. But it's the Inhumans have ties to the Kree.
They do.
And that was a blue hand with the bangle. Now, I still don't think she's going to be an Inhuman, but I do think this could potentially tie into what we were talking about either last episode or the one before, where they might be just creating a brand new storyline for this branch of the MCU, this universe that we know. And it's not going to be Inhuman, but it may be that combined with a couple other things. What do you think after seeing this Blue Hand?
They have
I
to
think-
mention it at some point. Sorry, Garrett.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. My thing.
You're on his side, so he's definitely going to.
I'm gonna rope that into exactly what I was gonna say. I think, as I've said many times before, it is not an accident that they talk about Terrigen Mist and Inhumans in Doctor Strange. I mean, I think Black Bolt could have just said, "I'm Black Bolt," and not like creator
if he
of the
said
Terrigen
that,
Mist or
everybody
whatever.
would have gone flying.
Yeah, it would have gone like it was just a little extra piece of information that the scene would have hit just as hard without that, but it was, they put it in there. And that leads me to believe that it is not a coincidence. And then the way that this show is shaping up to, like, maybe they don't say Inhumans in this universe, but could be a pretty similar thing. And I would like to say too, I saw this on Twitter. Sorry, I can't remember the account or the name, but there is some music that plays while they're in that temple when they're finding that blue arm, when they're taking the bangle off of it, and it is very similar to some music that is played in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when Agent Coulson finds the Tahiti Kree body that has given him new life. And so I don't know, is that too weird of a coincidence? I don't know. What do you guys think?
You go.
So I'm spinning this Kree thing in my head, and I'm trying to think of how they're going to kind of tie that in with their Jinn theory. And I just really hope that however they explain it, however they do it with care, because I know that gave me essentially saying that they were Jinn and we all kind of think that they're Kree. It kind of gave me pause, and I just want to make sure that they're sensitive with that.
I do think it's very interesting, and I could see it being something like the bangle itself may have come from or been being worn by someone Kree, or that something, or that it was created by them to harness some energy, and they themselves aren't Kree. That's kind of how I'm viewing that one. I still don't think Inhumans are coming. I do think Kree's coming, though. I think that would make sense for how Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel are going to be needed to tie together somehow, with obviously her having Kree blood running through her veins, and the Kree Skrull War and Secret Invasion coming up. I think this is all going to tie together somehow. I just do not know how yet. The other part of that scene, though, that we got to talk about is the 10 rings.
Yep.
I mentioned that, like, maybe that was when Woohoo shifted them there. Ayla, do you have any theories on this? Because this is incredibly interesting stuff. There was no accident they threw that in there, and they really gave us that pause on those 10 rings to kind of make sure that we saw it in there. What do you think was the purpose?
I'm really wondering about that second bangle with the 10 rings. I'm wondering if somehow the second bangle has maybe been cut up and, turned into the 10 rings or something like that. Because where is it? And for the 10 rings to be there, that art, it's not a coincidence. There's intention there. And there's some relation to that second bangle.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's no coincidence at the very end of Shang-Chi, the post-credit scene, they're all like trying to figure out where this energy is coming from. And I think, maybe there's a similarity between those two things. If not the second bangle, cut up into other pieces, there probably is a similarity of where that energy or that power comes from. And maybe Miss Marvel is the show that unlocks that, which would be pretty crazy because that might make it the most important show to the MCU.
It wasn't I don't think it was something anyone expected. That particular scene just kind of was jaw-dropping. It was not, and all the theories swimming around about it, no one saw this coming.
Especially to start the episode off like this, right?
Yeah.
Right, fresh off the bat. And just to kind of, I like the theory, and I don't know if this is hole poking or if this is potentially just like a writer's thing that, like, when they decide to do something, they kind of go back and be like, ooh, that may have been a continuity thing. We can just leave it or fix it later on. The only thing I wonder about that would be if the 10 rings are the other Bengal, was why would that one have been in a 10 rings location? If they were one and the same, why wasn't Wenwu using that other one as well to kind of whip up something if it was in one of his locations already, kind of thing? So
That's an excellent question.
Well,
to
it's
be
on the arm
determined.
of
We got some episodes left.
someone, you know.
Exactly.
So
Maybe
someone
that
was
was a
using it.
former 10 rings establishment that they kicked them out of there. We don't know. I hope that's something that gets moderately answered in this show, and that's not just a red herring for the future.
You
Yep.
know, I always hope the same.
And on that note, speaking of wrap up in the show, we're going to Pakistan. That's where we're headed next. And she got from Bruno her little mask going over her eyes, which I thought was really cool. Do we think, and I'll throw this to you first, do we think that Kamala might be assembling the rest of her suit while she is in Pakistan?
Oh, I never thought about that. I think she might. She has that domino mask, and she's obviously not going to continue to use the Captain Marvel the cosplay suit. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense that she would get some of the elements over there. I'm really excited for them to go over to Karachi. I want to see, Pakistan in all of its vibrance. Like they did with, Moon Knight was handled so well. Egypt was so beautifully portrayed, and I want to see that for Pakistan. So I'm excited.
I agree with you, Garrett. What do you think we have in store for us in episode 4?
I had never thought of the idea of her assembling her, or partially, or however, somehow assembling her suit in Pakistan, but I love that because that is such a beautiful way for like a lot of cultural elements to possibly come in. And I think, in a lot of the branding and marketing and stuff that had come out beforehand, there was some really cool nods to like some Pakistani like truck art and things like that. And so I think it would be a really cool way to like subtly add some of that in there, or you know what, even not subtly, I don't care, throw it on there, represent. I would love to see that. I think that's a really cool possibility.
It seems like a theme kind of the show has been mothers and daughters, and then I think when Kamala's mom goes, I'm assuming she's going to go with her to Pakistan. Maybe that's a moment that 3 generations can have where they're possibly working on this suit and assembling this costume. I think that would be really, really nice.
I definitely think we're gonna see some type of either mother-daughter bonding between Kamala's mom and her grandmother, or some serious riff and conflict between the two of them that will give her mom a little bit of an epiphany of, I have to allow my daughter to be her own person, kind of thing. I think it'll be one of the two. It'll either be a large parental conflict or some strong parental bonding in this upcoming episode.
Why not both?
And what maybe both, maybe both. And what I think this series has done a great job so far of doing is each episode answers the previous episode's questions while presenting us with a new batch of potential problems and questions. And so that's really what I'm hoping for out of episode 4 is Grandma saw the train too. Aisha saw the train too. Like we got Aisha's the great grandma. But she saw the train too. Kamala, we saw the train to Karachi when she was there. What does this mean? What's the connection between Grandma and the Bengal? What is going on? That's what I want answered, and I can't wait to see the next door of questions that gets opened as well.
I'm really curious about that too. I think that the grandma had to have the bangle on when she saw that trail of stars kind of leading back to the train, and also because presumably you're not going to have luggage. You're going to be trying to board this train to safety. So to wear this bangle seems like kind of a logical conclusion there.
Yeah,
I agree with you, and she doesn't. Nani refuses to talk about it with Kamala because her mom will get upset about it. I'm just so curious to learn what her mom knows. Because her mom knows something. And at the end of this episode, Kamala's like, I'm sorry. I can't tell you, no matter how much her mom is like, you have to let us in, do this together as a family. And Kamala's hearing it because they have that moment where she's looking in on her dad and her brother during the wedding, and they're talking about that. So that's connecting with her. And I think the reason why she doesn't want to tell them is so she doesn't lose them and so she can protect them. But I'm curious how much the mom knows, because she obviously knows something.
Yeah.
There's this.
It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes.
There's this moment of foreshadowing. I think it's in the first episode, right, where the mom says that she's seen what happens when somebody lives kind of in a fantasy land. She's talking about Kamala in that moment, but you wonder if she's also talking about her own mother, and perhaps the bangle, and perhaps everything that has happened.
Yeah, it feels like we're going to get a lot explained to us in this next episode.
The 10 Rings thing kind of planted this in my head too, of what if they're not from another dimension? What if there's not trying to there's no home for them to get back to? Maybe, like, I mean, obviously the fact that they're 100 years old and look the same, there's obviously something up with them. But whether that is Kree DNA or like whatever it is, I could see the thing calling to them to be potentially not necessarily a gateway home like they think, but a similar situation to Wenwu and Shang-Chi, where there's something that needs help opening their gate so they can get out. And it could be a little bit of that. But if not, if things are what they seem and it is just a gateway home, they kind of skirted past this but mentioned it multiple times throughout the episode. They didn't just accidentally leave and weren't able to get back. They were exiled. They got
Kamala,
kicked out.
She doesn't ask why, which is like, what, that should be the first question. And I don't know if that's going to be answered, because okay, you want to help them, but maybe they should not be helped. Maybe they're not good
Why were you
people.
exiled? Why do you want to get back if you were exiled? What are you going to do when you get back? These are the first 3 questions that came to my mind, and Kamala just did not even think about asking them.
Yeah,
Do you guys,
she wants to help everyone.
True. And that's, I think, a part of her Peter Parker-esque traits, that she's young and will grow into a hero, because she's going to have to learn to follow her brain as well as her heart a little bit.
Decide who needs help and who is not worth helping. Yeah.
Since you mentioned Peter Parker, wasn't that moment where she was talking to the Sheik great? Where that iconic line, "Good is not a thing you are, but what you do," was mentioned.
Such a good line. It was so well delivered. I have a funny story from today that Garrett, I'll let you get your point in here that I want to tell after.
Yeah, I think something that this show does really, really well, actually, is those one-on-one moments. There's a couple of them in this episode. There's been several throughout the past episodes, but they have some really incredible character building one-on-one scenes where you really get to see both the actors and the characters shine. And there's one with Kamala's dad and Bruno, with Kamala and her grandma. There's plenty more that I'm not thinking about the top of my head, but this show really does an exceptional job of characterizing these people.
I agree with you. Phase 4 it's been a trend that the stories are very character driven. It's a lot less about the big events and a lot more about the stories going on within the characters. And it's rare we see a show or a movie like Ms. Marvel where right off the bat we can feel like we know these characters and we're invested in these characters, and these actors are these characters. We didn't need time to grow with them and develop with them. It's just right off the bat upon introduction you love them and you're invested in them and you see the actors as those characters, and I think it's pretty incredible. Before we get out of here, any last thoughts on the episode? I'll throw it to you because you had a point.
It's just going to be very difficult, waiting these next 3 weeks to see how it all resolves, and I'm excited to see what they do, and excited to see what it means for the rest of the MCU and the Marvels.
I agree with you. I can't wait to see the ties that this could give us to the Marvels. Garrett, last thoughts on the episode?
I'm hooked. I'm glad that that we still have Miss Marvel going forward now that Obi-Wan Kenobi has ended, because I mean they're both incredible, but I if they both ended at the same time, like I would be so stuck, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that there's a stagger, and I'm hooked on the show. I can't wait till each week to watch it and see the story unfold.
I'm with you there, and not only do we have Ms. Marvel continuing, even though Obi-Wan's done, but we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness now available on Disney Plus as well. And just because we brought up some Spider-Man, I want to tell this quick funny story quick. I was doing a stream for the other website I work for, rotogrinders.com, talking fantasy baseball. And I always do this thing where I'm trying to get the likes up on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Agents of Fandom on all the socials except for Twitter. It's at Agents Fandom. But we were doing the same thing there, right? I'm trying to get people to hit the like button. So every 50 likes, I give what's called the Spidey Bomb, and it's who Spider-Man tells me, whispers in my ear, who's going to hit a home run today. And it's been going pretty well. So the people like it and they ask for it and they hit the like button. And today we were like, hey, if we get to 150. TJ, will you get a Spider-Man tattoo if we get to 150? And so I was like, I'll tell you what, if one of you guys pay for it, sure. And so I told Ava, this is my fiance, when she got home from work, I was like, depending on your perspective, I either did something incredibly stupid or incredibly smart. She was like, what did you do? And so I explained the situation to her, and I said, now, if you look at it from the perspective of, did I just, for likes on YouTube, say that I would get a tattoo? Stupid. That perspective makes you look like an idiot. But did I just leverage a situation into a tattoo I wanted to get anyways that I'll now be able to get for free? Genius.
Yeah. I was gonna call you out because, you know, there are situations where this exact story could go like horribly wrong. This is one of the better of those scenarios. A Spider-Man
like,
tattoo.
Yes.
You know? Choose where you put it, blah blah blah. I was like, no, it's 150 likes. It's gonna happen. I'm choosing it.
But see, you could like leverage this into something totally different. You could have people vote on what tattoo, you know, submit designs, vote where you put it with even more likes. So you have options there.
True,
Wow.
true. There's leverage to be had. I'm honestly thinking of just something like our YouTube videos. Viewers get a little bit of extra, podcast viewers don't get to see. But right here on my arm, I'm thinking kind of like something like, with great power must also come great responsibility. Something like that, with maybe a little Spidey on there, something like that. But Ayla, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a blast. Your passion and your kindness, it just really radiates through on screen. Like when it's so fun to have a conversation with you, because you can just tell how kind of a person you are just by speaking to you, even about comic book stuff. This has been a blast.
Well, likewise, you guys are awesome, and I can't wait to see even more of the amazing stuff that you're putting out.
Thank you so much. And it's a good reminder, head to agentsoffandom.com. You can check out our recent Ms. Marvel interview with Anjali Bomani. This was one of the most fun interviews I've ever had. She is a delightful person. Not only is she in Ms. Marvel, but she is Rampart and Apex Legends. She's Symmetra and Overwatch. She's been in all kinds of sitcoms, and including a drama show, Law and Order, that they mentioned today in today's episode of Ms. Marvel. So Ms. Marvel is Law and Order is canon in the MCU, and Auntie Ruby has been in an episode. On behalf of myself, on behalf of my amazing co-host Garrett and our wonderful guest Ayla, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned because we're going to be talking some Obi-Wan Kenobi.